If your clothing is looking like this in Blender, I have a fix for you. First, I want to give a shout out to Edgeloop 3D. He helped me to figure out a really simple way to do this project. Go back to your Clothes 3D project and delete the avatar. Import the new T-pose avatar and reposition the clothing. You can skip this step if you already exported the clothing in the T-pose position. Import your shift dress that's set to a T-pose. Make sure animation is turned off. Also import your FBX file that has the action that you downloaded from Mixamo. Make sure animation is checked on for that. The dress is going to be a lot smaller. Like in this case, I'll need to scale it up. I just hit S to scale it, but it's a little out of control sometimes. You may want to just use the scale tool and then reposition it just so it fits roughly on your avatar. It's a little big, that's okay. We'll scale it a little bit more accurately later. Now, select on the avatar, or select on the armature and move all your keyframes over to 20, give or take. And we want a little space here in the beginning. So with the armature selected, we're going to go up to pose mode and select pose, and we're going to clear transform. And what that's going to do is set her back into a T-pose, and then we hit the letter I, and we want to set a keyframe. That makes a little keyframe down here. You can select off it and then just select back onto that specific keyframe and then copy it and put it right here. When you paste it, it'll just add kind of a big blank section, and that's what we want. We want time for the cloth to be able to simulate. Okay, so now let's go back over to object mode and select the avatar first, and then shift select the clothing. Go to weight paint, and then weights, and transfer weights. And we'll open this little thing down here, and your source layer needs to be by name. And what that's basically going to do is make anything that's close to the garment kind of follow that form. Okay, now we're going to move this up a little bit more accurately in a position, kind of zoom around, and you'll see that I'm a little bit too big, but that's actually not so bad. If you're a little bit on the large size with your garment, that's not going to cause you problems. When it's too small, it will. Okay, so I have that in position now, and next thing I need to do is add a cloth sim to this, but before I do, I need to assign what's called a pinning group. So if I go over to the armature layer and I turn off the eyeball or the visibility for both the armature and the model, I want to have this in wireframe mode, and I want to be over in the edit menu. This part's a little tricky, and if there's a better way to do it, let me know. The one I know is that I just want to select some vertices that are going to be the shoulder, and I can just kind of select and hold down shift that's fine. And sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll have a nice seam like this one. I'm going to hold down shift, and that line just goes right through. I think that's good enough. It's not perfect. If you want to be more accurate, just zoom in, hold down shift, and select those. But I'm going to go down to the vertice groups here. I'm going to make a new group, and I'm going to title it pinning. And you'll see why in a second, but then I want to make sure I click the assign button. And now I can go back to object mode, and I'll put it back in shader. And now I can turn back on the avatar and the armature. Okay, now with the clothing selected, we're going to go over to the physics properties, and I'm going to add a cloth sim. And the cloth property will have physical properties, and this is a great idea from Edgeloop 3D. Set everything low. So I'm going to just go down the list and set everything at 1. Probably a faster way to do this too, but let me know. Okay, so since those are all set for physical properties at 1, you can crank things up or down as you see fit. Next thing I do is going to go to shape and then pin group, and I'm going to select the vertice for pinning there, and that should hopefully keep that top edge from simulating and just be stuck to the shoulders roughly. Okay, collisions, you want to have self collisions, and you want those just set all the way down to the bottom. And then we want to add one modifier to that. Click the little wrench here, go up to solidify. And this one's awesome. Hit 0 and then bump it up a little bit. For an offset, that will just push it off the skin, just like in Clo 3D. And thickness 0.002 or so. That'll just thicken up the fabric. Okay, select the avatar, and we're going to choose a collision for that. So the cloth is going to collide with the avatar in this case. Okay, I think we got it set up. Go back, select on the clothing, and fold everything back up and go to cache. And in here, I'm going to just open this a little bit. You're going to bake all dynamics, but first you want to set the end frame. You just want to do a little chunk of this. So I'm just going to do 40 frames, and down here in my timeline, I'm going to set 40. So I could it's just going to play 40 frames. I'm going to bake the dynamics. Okay, everything's baked. Let's hit play. And I got to say, it works pretty well. Now that everything was scaled up, that's why it kind of drops on it and it looks all kind of stretchy and weird, but we can scale it for 1. And by the way, we want to delete all bakes before we do any of that sort of stuff. And you can see that it's not simulating right, but that's okay. I'm going to reposition it up on her a little bit better. Hopefully that'll work. That's a better fit. We'll see how it works. But then while I'm here, I'm going to go back to physical properties, and then you can up some of these physical properties now. So go with a higher number for some of these. I noticed that like on some of these, if I go like 7, 11, to be honest, I don't know exactly how to control these, but those are some numbers that I found successful. And go to physical properties again, and cache, and we're gonna bake all dynamics. Okay, we're back, it's all done baking, and let's see how it looks. Drops on her pretty good. Looks like it fits pretty well. It's a little lumpy and bumpy. I did notice that in the physical properties had something to do with that bending and the compression a little bit. Drop the shear and the tension just a touch. Of course, just repeat the process. Just delete all bakes and bake again. But at this point, everything should work a lot better than it ever did before, which I'm pretty excited about. You bake all dynamics and see how it works. And hopefully your shift dress will stay on your model.